Hello and welcome to the New Europe studios, where you can watch us make the news. Today I'm speaking to His Excellency Mose, who's the Ambassador of the Solomon Isles to the European Union. And he's going to talk to us today a little bit about what Europe looks like to the Solomon Islanders, and of course the many challenges they face and what Europe is doing, hopefully, to assist them. If we're helping, let's find out. Ambassador, welcome to Brussels.
Thank you.
Now, you've had a wide career travelling around and working with a lot of regional bodies that the Pacific has developed. What are your impressions on Brussels so far?
Well, thank you. I come from a very small island country in the Pacific, and the European Union is one of our biggest development partners in terms of providing technical assistance and financial support in important areas that and the priorities of my country. And one of the important areas that the European Union is assisting us is in the area of economic development, trade, sustainable development, and of course the focus now of the European Union in our part of the world is on mitigating the impact of climate change. And one of the biggest challenges of the countries in the Pacific were very vulnerable to the impact of global warming. And we look forward to the kind of support that we're receiving from the EU and of course the member states of the European Union.
I think that in Europe we've managed to get a lot of support for dealing with climate change, and we understand that it's very important that we tackle this. But our concerns are things getting a bit windier, getting a bit wetter, perhaps a few more natural disasters. But in the Solomon Isles, the effects of climate change are already very drastic and are likely to get really catastrophic quite soon if things do not change. Do we really understand the urgency that's felt in your country?
I think from our perspective, we feel that more awareness needs to be reach the normal people in Europe as to the impact of climate change. Because the impact of climate change in the Pacific, although we are very far away from Europe, but the Pacific Ocean is very vital, not only for us in the Pacific, but also for Europe in terms of future generation, in terms of the impact of climate change. So once that kind of support and assistance is coming from the Europeans and the understanding of the impact of climate change so that they can take proactive actions or mitigating measures, providing assistance to the island countries in a way that will assist the countries manage the impact of climate change. Recently, in April of this year, Solomon Islands had a very bad rainfall that resulted in flash flooding and impacted badly on the economic infrastructure of the country. And these are the kind of things that, for us, we can come up with development, economic development, but if the impact of climate change continues to worsen, then whatever development that are there will just be wasted, and then we continue to to grapple with the impact of climate change and global warming.
I mean, one of the big things, of course, and it shows in the reasonableness of the case that you're making so far, is the Solomon Islanders are in no way responsible for climate change or for global warming. It's those of us in the large and industrialized countries that have added to these natural effects. You're not responsible, but you're paying the price. What more would you like to see from us in the terms of practical policy?
Well, the use of renewable energy, I think, is one way of contributing to slowing down the impact of global warming, climate change, and I think the use of fossil fuel is, I think, is contributing in a large way towards, creating, this impact of global warming, and until people in Europe and, of course, developed countries realize that and do something about it, we're going to continue to experience, the negative impact and the catastrophic effect of global warming and climate change in the Pacific and also everywhere in the world right now. And a lot of people feel that, of course, global warming only affects island countries, but I think the impact of global warming is a global issue that needs a global approach.
And of course, this is one thing that Europe believes that it's very good at, is it's helping to give you a voice on the global stage. You said before that we were a very good partner for you. Have you felt, what benefits have you noticed from your association with the European Union?
Well, as I said, the European Union is one of our biggest partners in terms of providing technical assistance, even to the extent of providing budgetary support for the government to deal with some of our development challenges. And so we feel that we would like to develop that relationship with the European Union, because they are there to support us, and we will continue to nurture that relationship. So my station here in Brussels, in our mission here, will enable me to represent the views of my country and my government with the European Commission, and be able to work closely with them, with the appropriate people in the European Commission, to further that relationship that we have with the European Union, as well as the members of the European community.
One of the things that we learn when we're looking at the Solomon Isles is that you've taken to heart the words of the British poet Tennyson, and you're known, and you call yourselves with a little tongue-in-cheek and celebration at the same time, the Happy Isles.
Yes.
And of course, you are in a part of the world that is spectacularly beautiful. It is one of the most gorgeous, most inviting, most natural environments on the planet. And you attract a certain amount of tourism.
Certainly.
To this, and this idea that you are a tropical paradise. And of course this is true, but it's not the whole story, is it? You're talking also, and your government is making great strides in development and helping people like the youth, because you need to keep these people on. Could you just give me a rundown of some of the challenges that you're facing, and how you're trying to tackle things like poverty and offer more opportunities to the youth and for trade?
Yes, thank you. One of the best way of assisting any small island country is to provide them with the ability to create opportunities for themselves, to create employment opportunities. And one of that is in the area of trade. And we are working closely with the European Union, negotiating the EU partnership with the European Union on trade, and we're looking forward to concluding the trade arrangements with the EU, hopefully, if not towards the end of this year, or possibly early in the new year or sometimes next year. So creating trade opportunities is a way forward for us, and attracting investment so that people can invest, create jobs, and help reduce the prevalence of poverty in our islands. And of course, a lot of young people come out from schools, graduating, and there's no job. And how do you contain unemployment? And the only way to do that is to create the opportunities for people to be able to either do business themselves or find a job that help them to earn a living. And this is one of the biggest challenges of our government and of course the country and many other small island countries in the Pacific: unemployment.
And one of the things that I've noticed that ties into this is, you know, in Europe we're used to looking at a map that centres on the Greenwich meridian and the equator. And if you look at that map, the Solomon Isles seem to be pushed off at one side. But if you look at the map and you put the Solomon Islands in the middle of it, you can see to the north you've got China, Japan, Asia. To the south you've got Australia, New Zealand.
Yes.
To the west you've got India, all the way through to Europe. And looking easterly you've got the United States and South America.
Yes, yes.
So you may be a group of small islands in a very, very large ocean, but you are at this kind of crossroads, aren't you? Are you finding benefits from the shift towards Asia that we've seen in the global economic world?
Yes, I think Asia is providing that potential opportunity for small island countries like mine because of our close proximity to the Asian countries where economic growth is booming, like in China. China now is one of our biggest trading partners, apart from other partners in Europe. So we believe that developing that close relationship with the Asian countries in terms of attracting investment and creating trade opportunities is one of my government's main priorities. And as a result of that, we are establishing a closer relationship with the Asian countries in establishing missions. We've just recently established a mission in Jakarta, Indonesia, to work closely with, because Indonesia is one of the biggest players in the Asian countries in terms of investment and economic and trade.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for coming in on one of your first days in Brussels. May we welcome you to our studio. May we hope we see you again to talk about some of these issues in a lot of depth, because what we just wanted to show was at least this island paradise. And by the way, you can help Europe and help yourself and help the Solomon Isles by going and visiting this place. You will not be disappointed. But there are also other opportunities with them, with trade, with business, with links, and learning more about these small islands of culture that we really just haven't noticed for so long.
Thank you very much, and we would welcome more visitors from Europe to visit Solomon Islands. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Goodbye.
Thank you.